Hey, what's going on, Ringsiders? This is your host, Boxing Subjective Observer, and welcome back to Ringside Stories. Or if you're new, we make content regarding boxing through mini documentaries, backstories, takeaways, and much more. So if you enjoy that type of content, feel free to subscribe, thumbs up, and hit that notification bell for the latest here on Ringside Stories. Thanks so much for your support in advance, and welcome to the channel. Devin Haney is still the reigning WBC 135-pound world champion, defeating the WBC interim belt holder and former 130-pound world champion Jojo Diaz by unanimous points decision, with two judges having it 117 to 111 and the third judge scoring the bout 116 to 112. A couple of things to discuss and to keep in mind moving forward, so let's break it down with 5 takeaways from Devin Haney versus Jojo Diaz. Let's get into it. Number 1. Good performance, not spectacular. It was a typical Devin Haney fight, a fight at a fairly slow pace, which Devin Haney is accustomed to, controlling his opponents by sitting outside of the pocket, fire off his snappy jab or lead straight rights. And against Jojo Diaz, Devin Haney did control the fight at least in the first 3 rounds, which was reflected on all 3 judges' scorecards. And he stayed disciplined, outspeeded his opponent from the outside, also placing some crisp counters, which is exactly what sets Devin Haney apart from all of the other current 135-pounders. That started to shift after round 3 as Jojo Diaz started to push forward, landing to Devin Haney's body. Haney fought back bravely, but it's almost as if he wanted to prove a point, similar to the Jorge Linares fight in May of 2021. And I get it, Devin Haney is still a young guy who is working to make a name for himself, trying to earn his stripes in a stacked division. That said, Haney just needs to focus on what he does best, which is being the best skilled boxer at 135, using his speed, his length, hit and not get hit. Although I think Devin Haney outpointed Jojo Diaz quite comfortably in the end, there were too many sloppy moments in fight which Haney might get punished for against more formidable opposition in the future. But on the back burner of the Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos upset 1 week ago, Devin Haney kept himself composed. Unlike Team Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney did have a game plan which he followed for most part, stayed focused on the task at hand. So with all of that in consideration, Devin Haney's performance against Jojo Diaz was not spectacular, yet solid, and another good learning experience for the Dream. Number 2, just 23 years of age. Yes, although he has close to 30 fights under his belt as a pro boxer, we might overlook the fact Devin Haney just turned 23 in November. Jojo Diaz was the WBC interim title holder and a world champion in the super featherweight division, which Diaz had effectively outgrown. Jojo Diaz holds wins over former world champions Victor Terrazas and Tevin Farmer, albeit in lower weight classes. And coming into the Haney fight, Diaz suffered only 1 defeat, which was a points decision loss against talented featherweight Gary Russell Jr. Now, I wouldn't go as far as to say this was Haney's best win so far as a pro, because I think Haney's win over Jorge Linares was better, especially since Linares held more world titles in different weight classes and is more proven at 135 than Jojo Diaz is at this point in time. However, Haney did beat a tough competitor who offered Devin Haney good rounds of experience, and also this was Devin Haney's win over a third former world champion in his last 3 fights back-to-back. As stated, Devin Haney seems to be dedicated to the game, seems to have a good head on his shoulders and a good team surrounding him, which keeps the Dream grounded moving forward. And if Devin Haney can make the adjustments moving forward, Devin might be able to outskill many of his opponents without having to force a stoppage, with the chance of getting seriously hurt himself in the process. Number 3, Devin Haney has no pop at 135. Devin Haney will be expected to step up in competition again very soon, which means he has to be able to keep his opponent off by any means other than his punching power. The Jojo Diaz fight proved once again that Devin the Dream Haney does not have the punching power to trouble his opponents at 135, even Jojo Diaz, who just came up to lightweight. Now, as per brand, Devin Haney prefers to stay on the outside, work behind a fast jab, and occasionally puts his punches together working his hand speed.
There's that uppercut. He landed it a handful of times this time, but he's not staying in there long enough for Diaz to land anything back. So he punches, gets out, and shifts.
Devin Haney is a finesse fighter who relies on boxing skill, counterpunching, i.e. the sweet science of hit and not get hit. The issue arises when Devin Haney starts to act out of character, gets in the pocket, engages with his opponent, attempts to go look for the knockout. Now we all remember that moment in the Jorge Linares fight in May of 2021, which was a punch really out of nowhere.
I didn't get dropped, I didn't get hurt. At the end of the day, we saw other fighters in the lightweight division get dropped, and the world praised them. I get hit with a big shot, and they act like it was something. It was nothing. This is boxing. You're going to get hit with big shots. I continue to hit him with big shots all through the fight.
Haney was controlling the fight for 9 rounds against the former 3-weight world champion, outboxing, outmaneuvering the vastly experienced Linares, yet seemed to force to get the stoppage against Jorge Linares, who prior had been stopped many times. So Devin Haney was trying to force the stoppage against Jorge Linares and almost paid for it. Now against Jojo Diaz, Devin Haney wasn't that reckless. However, he did hit Jojo Diaz with a lot of good shots to the body and head. None of Haney's shots troubled, much less hurt his man. The extension of that issue is that Devin Haney has been lured into a shootout when he really isn't a puncher. A mindset that will surely get him into trouble against a more formidable opponent in the not-so-distant future. There are many opponents Devin Haney will face, either at 135 or upwards, who are more formidable than both Jorge Linares and Jojo Diaz, who will endure Devin Haney's storm and then successfully launch their own attacks. The question then arises, what can Devin Haney do to counter his lack of power in those fights? Number 4, Devin Haney's defense. Next to his lack of punching power, at least at 135, is Devin Haney's defense. Going back to the Jorge Linares fight, and to Devin Haney's credit, the dream got cracked yet did not fade. However, Devin Haney did get hurt, and it took time for Devin Haney to get his legs back under him before he fully recovered, which he could have avoided if Haney was more defensively responsible. Jorge Linares exposed Devin Haney's lack of defense, which were some of the issues in this fight against Jojo Diaz, who was able to hit Haney's body and head on multiple occasions. Jojo Diaz is a warrior and always shows up to fight. That said, he was the smaller guy moving up in weight, who even in the lower weights wasn't known for his concussive punching power. With all of the punches connected on Devin Haney, what would have happened against the likes of Vasyl Lomachenko, who gives angles, has fast hands, and accurate counters? Tank Davis, who's a southpaw, explosive, and can really crack. Teofimo Lopez, who, yes, might have lost just now, but is still a dangerous puncher with boxing ability. And what would have happened against 135-pound kingpin George Kambosos Jr., who not only shows he belongs at the top in the division, has heart, has a great gas tank, and can bang on the inside if he decides to. So no disrespect to Jojo Diaz, but there are more dangerous fighters at 135 than Diaz, which means Devin Haney will have to work on his defense moving forward.
The main fight that I want to make happen is the Kambosos fight, because it's for all the belts. You know, it makes the most sense for me right now. It won't be no more dispute who's the WBC champion. The winner takes all the belts, and then we go up to 140.
Now, Devin Haney has hinted he'll move up to 140 soon, so he wouldn't necessarily fight all of the aforementioned guys. That could also indicate that Haney feels more comfortable at 140, which means that he wouldn't have to cut as much weight as he has to do right now, and could increase his punch resistance and be an overall more effective fighter moving forward. But as stated in what is next for Teofimo Lopez, the 140-pound division has a crop of fighters who are just as lethal as the current top 5 at lightweight, or even more lethal. So in any case, Devin Haney has to improve his defense to have any sort of chance, whether Haney goes up to 140 or moves straight into an undisputed world championship fight against unified world champion George Kambosos Jr. Number 5, undisputed next.
Good, that's it. That's all right,
As long as.
If it makes
It makes sense.
No, of course.
And all that you already said, you come to Charlotte. That's beautiful, because I like.
I'll fight you on Jupiter if I got to.
Hey,
Of course, boxing fans, myself included, would love to see George Kambosos Jr. versus Devin Haney for the undisputed 135-pound World Championship next, since Devin Haney got his mandatory out of the way without taking too much damage, since George Kambosos Jr. doesn't have an immediate rematch with Teofimo Lopez and has no mandatory obligations of his own as of yet, a collision course between the two undefeated champions seem likely for early 2022. The fact that Devin Haney is also a network and promotional free agent should help in getting this fight over the line. Both George Kambosos Jr. and Devin Haney have questions to answer. Kambosos was dropped against Teofimo Lopez regardless of how strong Ferocious came back after. He was hurt for the rest of that round 10, meaning George Kambosos Jr. can be hurt. But can Devin Haney drop and hurt Kambosos also? How will Haney deal with Kambosos' speed and aggression? How will Kambosos deal with Haney's jab, timing, and movement? An interesting matchup between two fighters with great boxing skill, who are flawed, and who both have a claim to the World Championship at 135. But that's all future talk. Let's congratulate Mr. Devin Haney for another solid win, surely gaining more experience in his early career. Let's hope Haney pursues the undisputed fight against George Kambosos Jr. next, because like with all undisputed fights, there's a small window of opportunity to make this an actuality, especially since Devin Haney is at the point where he has had a hard time to make the 135-pound limit, and going up to super lightweight or junior welterweight is just a matter of fights, possibly next calendar year already. These are just my observations. What are yours? Let us know in the comments below. What did you make of Devin Haney's performance in the Jojo Diaz fight, and how do you see a potential undisputed world title fight between George Kambosos Jr. and Devin Haney play out if that fight is next? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content and you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, give a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell. It helps the channel out a lot, i.e. inspire us to make more quality content for y'all. As always, thank you so much for your support in advance, and welcome to Ringside Stories. Now, if you've done that already, you're amazing. We already know that you are the true undisputed world champion. Till next time, Ringsiders, this is your host, Boxing Subjective Observer, with Ringside Stories. Thanks for watching, and have a legendary day.